Anaya slammed the car door harder than she meant to. The sound echoed through the quiet parking lot, sharp and final, like something had just ended, even though she didn't want it to. Her phone vibrated in her hand almost immediately. "Emeka, if you walk away now, don't bother coming back." She froze. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Her heart pounded. Her chest tightened the way it always did whenever those words appeared. "Don't bother coming back." She swallowed hard and typed quickly. "Anaya, please don't say that. Let's just talk." The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then her phone went silent. Anaya stood there, staring at the dark screen, fighting the familiar wave of panic that rose every time love threatened to leave. The fear was not loud. It was quiet, deep, persistent, the kind that made her feel small even when she had everything. She leaned against her car, closed her eyes, and breathed. This was not the first time. It never was. From the outside, Anaya's life looked perfect. Early 20s, extremely beautiful, blue eyes that turned heads wherever she went. Money that removed obstacles before they even appeared. People often said she was lucky, but luck had never taught her how to feel safe in love. She grew up with her mother, Anita, in a house filled with strength and sacrifice, but also silence. Anita did her best. She worked long hours. She made sure Anaya never lacked materially, but there was one thing she never spoke about. Her father. Anaya learned early that some absences had no explanations. One day someone was there, and the next day they weren't. No goodbye. No closure. Just space where love should have been. And that space followed her into adulthood. So when Emeka walked into her life, confident and charming, she didn't hesitate. He made her laugh, made her feel chosen. On their first date, he leaned back in his chair, looked at her like he already owned the room, and said, "You're different.
I don't meet girls like you."
like you." Her heart softened instantly. Different meant special. Special meant he wouldn't leave. For the first few weeks, everything felt intense. Messages every morning. Late-night calls. Promises wrapped in sweet words. He called her his peace, his blessing, his answered prayer. Anaya believed him. When he mentioned struggling financially, she didn't see a red flag. She saw an opportunity to help. Love helped. Love showed up. Love provided. "Don't worry," she told him one evening over the phone. "I've got you." And Emeka smiled on the other end. She could hear it in his voice. Slowly, the balance shifted. She started paying for dinners, covering small bills, helping with rent just this once. When she asked for more effort, more reassurance, more presence, Emeka's tone changed. "You're doing too much," he said one night. "Why are you always starting issues?" "I'm not starting issues," Anaya replied softly. "I just want to feel secure." There was a pause. Then the words came, calm, calculated. "If this is how it'll be, maybe we should just break up." Her heart dropped. "No," she said quickly. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. Sorry for wanting more. Sorry for asking questions. Sorry for feeling." He learned very quickly what scared her, and he used it. Every argument ended the same way. The threat, the silence, the withdrawal of affection. And every time Anaya gave in, she apologized even when she didn't understand what she'd done wrong. She stayed because staying felt safer than being abandoned again. 5 months passed like that. Then one day, Emeka stopped pretending. He ended things abruptly. No long explanation, no conversation, just a message. "I need to focus on myself." That was it. No acknowledgement of everything she had given, no accountability. Just distance. Anaya cried for days. Not just because he left, but because his leaving confirmed the lie she had carried since childhood. People don't stay. She promised herself she would be more careful next time. She wasn't. Kunle entered her life when she was still healing, still vulnerable, still aching to be chosen again. He was quieter than Emeka, less confident. He talked about how hard life had been on him, how people always misunderstood him, how no one ever really supported him. Anaya listened. She always listened. Sometimes
I feel like I don't deserve good things,
Kunle said one night.
You do. You really
She
do.
replied immediately. You really do. And just like that, she stepped into the role she knew best: rescuer, supporter, provider. She helped him financially, encouraged his dreams, defended him when friends raised concerns. He's just misunderstood, she said. He's been through a lot. What she didn't know was that while she was pouring into him, he was dividing himself between her and 2 other women. She found out accidentally, a message notification that popped up when his phone was on the table. A name she didn't recognize. A heart emoji that shouldn't have been there. Her hand shook as she confronted him. Kunle, she said, voice breaking. Who is this? He looked at the phone, then at her, then sighed deeply, like she had disappointed him. So this is what you think of me? He asked. I'm just asking, Anaya whispered. Please tell me the truth. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, you're ashamed of me. Because I don't have money like you. You're looking for an excuse to leave. Her head spun. That's not true, she said quickly. I've supported you. Exactly, he cut in. You think helping me gives you the right to accuse me. You're just tired of carrying me, that's all. Suddenly, she was explaining herself instead of holding him accountable. Gaslighting worked quietly, slowly, effectively. 3 months in, Anaya walked away. But she walked away confused, doubting herself, wondering if she really was the problem. That night, alone in her room, she sat on her bed and stared at the wall. No tears, just exhaustion. Why does this keep happening? She whispered, to no one. The answer scared her, because for the first time she considered that maybe the problem wasn't just the men she chose, but the fear that kept choosing for her. And that realization was the beginning of everything changing. Anaya didn't go to therapy because she believed in it. She went because one night, sitting on the bathroom floor with her back against the tub, she realized she was afraid of herself. Her phone was in her hand again. Not because someone had texted, but because no one had. She kept refreshing the screen, even though she knew there would be nothing there. That's enough, she whispered, her voice cracking. This has to stop. The next morning, she called a therapist. Her first session felt awkward. She sat on the edge of the chair, legs crossed tightly, hands folded in her lap like a child afraid of getting in trouble. So, the therapist said gently, what brings you here? Anaya opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her eyes filled before she could stop them. I don't know how to be loved, she finally said. The words hung in the air. The therapist didn't rush her, didn't interrupt, just nodded slowly. Tell me what love has felt like for you. Anaya laughed softly, bitterly, temporary. She talked about Emeka, about Kunle, about how every relationship started with intensity and ended. She talked about Emeka, about Kunle, about how every relationship started with intensity and ended with her questioning her worth. She talked about the panic that came whenever someone pulled away, the way she apologized even when she was hurt, the way she gave and gave until there was nothing left. And what do you fear will happen if you don't give? The therapist asked. Anaya didn't answer immediately. That they'll leave, she said quietly. Who left first? The therapist asked. The question landed hard. Anaya's chest tightened. My father. It was the first time she'd said it out loud in years. The sessions became uncomfortable after that. Therapy wasn't healing the way she imagined healing would be. It didn't feel light. It felt heavy. Like opening boxes she had sealed for survival. She learned words she had never used before. Abandonment wound. Trauma bonding. Emotional manipulation. People-pleasing. Each word felt like someone finally explaining her life back to her. One afternoon, after a particularly intense session, Anaya drove straight to her mother's house. Anita was in the kitchen, stirring soup when Anaya walked in. You didn't call, Anita said, surprised. I know, Anaya replied. Can we talk? They sat at the dining table. The same table where Anaya had done homework as a child. The same table where she learned to be strong. Mummy, Anaya said slowly, why did Daddy leave? Anita froze. For a moment, Anaya thought her mother wouldn't answer. But then Anita sighed deeply and sat down. I didn't want you to grow up angry, Anita said. I thought protecting you meant staying silent. It didn't protect me, Anaya said, her voice trembling. It taught me that men leave, and that I have to do everything to make them stay. Anita's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. That conversation changed something between them. Not perfectly, not magically, but honestly. Anaya stopped dating after that. Not as a punishment, not out of bitterness, but because she realized something frightening. She didn't know who she was without a relationship. The silence was loud at first. She reached for her phone instinctively, wanted to text someone, anyone. But she didn't. Instead, she sat with herself. She cried when she needed to, journaled things she had never admitted. She practiced saying no, even when her voice shook. One day, a man she had just started talking to sent her a message. Him, why do you take so long to reply? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Old Anaya would have apologized. Instead, she typed, Anaya, because I reply when I'm available, not when I'm anxious. She stared at the message after sending it. Her heart raced. He didn't reply. And for the first time, she didn't chase. Therapy taught her that boundaries would cost her people. And that was okay. As weeks turned into months, something shifted. Anaya started focusing on her career. She took projects seriously, negotiated better pay, spoke with confidence in rooms she used to shrink in. She wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. She was building something for herself. One afternoon, her therapist asked, what does healthy love look like to you now? Anaya thought for a long moment. It feels calm, she said. It doesn't make my heart race with fear. It doesn't threaten to leave. That's important, the therapist replied. Because chaos feels familiar to people who grew up with abandonment. Anaya nodded. She understood now, and that understanding was dangerous. Because once you see clearly, you can't unsee. She began recognizing red flags immediately. Disappearing acts, passive aggression, emotional inconsistency. She stopped romanticizing potential. She chose peace. That was when Adam appeared. Not dramatically, not during a crisis, not when she was broken. He was introduced by a colleague at a work event. They exchanged
It's great
polite
to finally meet you
conversation.
in person.
The
Nothing
feeling
intense.
is mutual. We should
Nothing
talk more.
rushed. He didn't flirt aggressively. Didn't demand attention. Didn't ask invasive questions. At the end of the night, he simply said, I enjoyed talking to you. If you'd like to continue the conversation sometime, I'd love that. No pressure. No urgency. Anaya felt safe. Their conversations were steady, balanced. He asked about her day and actually listened, When she took hours to reply, he didn't accuse her. He didn't withdraw. One evening, she tested him without realizing it. "I'm not sure I'm ready for anything serious," she said. "That's okay," Adam replied. And Anaya didn't know yet, but this calm was the reward for all the unlearning she had done. Anaya didn't trust the calm at first. She waited for the switch. The moment Adam would become distant, the subtle shift in tone, the silence that always came before abandonment, but it didn't come. Weeks passed, then months. And Adam stayed exactly the same. Consistent. That consistency made her uneasy. One evening, as they sat in his living room, the silence stretched longer than usual. Adam was reading something on his phone. Anaya watched him from the corner of her eye. He wasn't hiding anything, wasn't acting strange. Her chest tightened anyway. "You're quiet," he said, looking up. She forced a smile. "Just tired." He nodded. "Do you want tea or should I order food?" Just like that. No interrogation. No accusation. And somehow, that hurt more than chaos ever had, because chaos felt familiar. This felt like standing on new ground without knowing how strong it was. Later that night, alone in her apartment, the thoughts crept in. He's too calm. He'll get bored. Men like this don't stay. Her phone buzzed. "Adam, I got home safely." "Hope you did too." She stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Anaya, yes. Thank you." She put the phone down, heart racing, not because of him, but because of what she felt growing. Attachment. And attachment had always meant pain. The next therapy session, she spoke without holding back. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not because he's hurting me, but because he's not." The therapist leaned forward slightly. "What does that fear say?" "That if I let my guard down," Anaya said slowly, "it'll hurt more when he leaves." "Has he given you any reason to believe he will?" The therapist asked. "No," she whispered. "Then what you're afraid of isn't him," the therapist said gently. "It's the memory of everyone before him." That night, Anaya did something she had never done before. She told the truth. They were sitting in her car after dinner when she finally spoke. "There's something I need to say," she said, gripping the steering wheel. Adam turned toward her. "Okay. I don't always react normally in relationships," she said. "Sometimes I pull away. Sometimes I overthink. It's not about you. It's old stuff." He listened without interrupting. "I've been in situations where love was used to control me," she continued. "So if I seem distant sometimes, that's why." Adam nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me." "That's it?" she asked, surprised. "That's it," he said. "We all come with history. I just want to understand yours." Her eyes filled with tears she hadn't planned. No one had ever responded like that before. Still, healing isn't linear. One evening, Adam didn't reply for hours. He was busy at work. Normal, rational. But Anaya's chest tightened anyway. The old panic returned. She typed a message, deleted it, typed again. "Anaya, are we okay?" She sent it before she could stop herself. When Adam finally called, she braced herself. "Hey," he said gently. "I just saw your message. We're okay. I was in meetings all day." "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have—" "Hey," he interrupted softly. "You don't have to apologize for feeling anxious. Just tell me when it happens." Her throat tightened. No punishment. No withdrawal. No threat of leaving. After the call ended, she sat quietly and let the feeling settle. This was different. But difference required courage. Weeks later, Adam invited her to spend a weekend away. Nothing extravagant, just quiet time. Anaya hesitated. This felt like the moment where things either deepened or fell apart. I don't know, she said. I'm scared of moving too fast. We don't have to go, Adam replied. I suggested it because I wanted to spend time with you, not to pressure you. She looked at him, searching for manipulation. There was none. That scared her even more. She agreed to go. The weekend was calm, simple, no emotional highs and lows. No drama. On the last night, as they sat outside under the quiet sky, Adam spoke. I want to be honest, he said. I'm interested in something real with you. But only if it feels safe for both of us. Anaya felt the familiar urge to rush, to cling, to say yes immediately. Instead, she paused. I care about you, she said slowly, but I need to keep choosing myself, too. Adam smiled. That's exactly what I want. That night, alone in the guest room, Anaya stared at the ceiling. This was the moment she used to lose herself. But she didn't. She chose clarity over fear. Back home, something unexpected happened. Emeka reached out. Emeka, I've been thinking about you. I made mistakes. Her heart skipped. The old pull returned like muscle memory. She stared at the message for a long time. Then she did something radical. She didn't reply. She went to therapy the next day and showed the message to her therapist. What do you feel? The therapist asked. Tempted, Anaya admitted. Familiarity doesn't always mean safety, the therapist said. Anaya nodded. She blocked Emeka's number that evening. It felt like closing a door that had haunted her for years. Later that night, Adam called. I just wanted to check in, he said. I'm okay, she replied, and for the first time she meant it, not because someone chose her, but because she chose herself. Anaya noticed the change before anyone else did. It wasn't dramatic. There was no announcement, no sudden confidence boost that made heads turn. It was quieter than that. She stopped bracing herself for disappointment. She stopped reading into pauses, stopped preparing speeches in her head for arguments that never came, stopped checking her phone with that familiar tightness in her chest. Peace didn't arrive as excitement. It arrived as stillness. One evening, she caught herself laughing, really laughing, while cooking alone in her apartment. Music played softly in the background. Her phone lay untouched on the counter. She paused mid-laugh. This was new. Before, silence had always felt like punishment, like proof that she wasn't wanted. Now it felt like rest. Adam didn't demand constant access to her. He didn't panic when she needed space. He didn't disappear when things felt real. And slowly, Anaya began to trust herself again. Not blindly, not recklessly, intentionally. One night, while lying beside Adam, she turned to him and said, There's something I need to tell you. He shifted to face her. Okay. I used to think love had to hurt to be real, she said. I stayed in situations that broke me because I was scared of being alone. Adam didn't interrupt. I don't want to do that anymore, she continued. If we're going to keep choosing each other, it has to be healthy. Even when it's uncomfortable. Adam nodded. That's the only kind of love I want. Her chest tightened, not with fear this time, but relief. Weeks later, something happened that would have once destroyed her progress. Adam had to travel for work, long days, short messages, missed calls. The old anxiety stirred, but instead of spiraling, Anaya did something different. She paused. She checked in with herself before reacting. She sent a simple message. Anaya, I miss you. Hope your day's going well. Adam replied when he could. No drama. No fear. No collapse. That night, Anaya sat with the realization that hit her like a quiet wave. She was no longer fighting herself to keep love. She was finally at peace with the idea that love should not require suffering. One afternoon, During therapy, her therapist asked, "What do you think changed everything?" Anaya didn't answer immediately. "I stopped trying to be chosen," she said slowly, "and started choosing myself." That was the truth. She no longer overextended to feel worthy, no longer attached her value to how long someone stayed, no longer mistook intensity for intimacy. And with that shift, something powerful happened. Love met her differently. Adam didn't put her on a pedestal. He didn't need her to be perfect. He didn't feed off her wounds. He met her where she was, whole. One evening, months later, they sat together quietly, watching the city lights through the window. Adam broke the silence. "I love you," he said, calmly. "Surely." Anaya felt the words settle instead of crash. "I love you too," she replied, and for the first time in her life, love didn't feel like a gamble. It felt like home. Later that night, alone, Anaya stood in front of the mirror. She studied her reflection, not critically, not desperately, but gently. She thought about the girl who begged men to stay. The girl who apologized for wanting reassurance. The girl who thought fear was passion. She smiled softly. "She didn't know better," Anaya whispered. "But she survived." Adam didn't save her. Therapy didn't magically erase her past. What saved her was the moment she realized that love should never cost her peace. And if it did, it wasn't love. It was familiar pain. Now she knew the difference. She had learned to love herself in ways no one ever had. She gave herself patience. She gave herself boundaries. She gave herself grace. And because of that, she no longer accepted love that came with conditions, threats, or fear. She chose calm. She chose clarity. She chose herself. And love met her there. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever stayed too long, if you've ever loved too hard, if you've ever confused pain for passion, you are not broken. You are healing. If you found yourself in Anaya's story, take a moment to like this video so more people who need it can find it. Subscribe for more slow, honest stories about healing, self-worth, and love done right. And comment below, what did this story teach you about love? Because sometimes the greatest love story isn't about who you end up with. It's about who you become when you finally stop abandoning yourself.